Hi, my name is Dawn and welcome to my kitchen. I'm back with another chocolate chip cookie recipe because they're my favorite and they're all so many different types. This one is called Tina's shortbread chocolate chip cookie recipe and it comes to us from allrecipes.com. I've made this so many times. I love it because I love shortbread, I love chocolate chip cookies, and this marries the two together. We don't even need that many ingredients and they bake up right away. Anyways, let's get going. So let's pull out all our ingredients. All-purpose flour, baking powder, table salt, unsalted butter, and I'm using unsalted butter today, it's different, granulated sugar, and finally chocolate chips. The recipe also calls for walnuts. I don't put walnuts in my chocolate chip cookies. Everyone knows that. So I pulled out my stand mixer. So we're going to do this in a stand mixer. You don't have to, but it does make it a lot easier. So I'll be using that today. In addition, you need a bowl and a whisk for your dry ingredients. I've grabbed my spatula and I'll just be scooping them out with a regular spoon and I'll be flattening them with this glass. And we just need plain cookie sheets, no parchment, no greasing, just plain as is. Okay, let's get going. This comes together really quick. First thing that we do is we are going to heat our oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna have the racks in the top and bottom thirds of the oven. So first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put together our dry ingredients. We need 210 grams of all-purpose flour. And to that, we add half a teaspoon of baking powder and a quarter teaspoon of table salt. And then just give this a good whisk to mix everything together. And we'll just put this aside for a minute. Grab your mixer bowl, and to this, we are going to add 227 grams of our butter. It needs to be at room temperature, and that would be 2 sticks of butter in the US. And then we add 100 grams of our granulated sugar. Okay, now using your paddle attachment, we are going to beat this until light and fluffy. I sort of go for about 3 minutes because you really want that sugar to sort of dissolve into the butter and be very light and fluffy. It's a reward. Okay, our 3 minutes are up and you can see how nice and light that looks. That's exactly what we're going for. Okay, so now I just scrape down the sides of your bowl. I've seen other bakers suggest to putting in vanilla, and go for it if that's what you want. I actually really like the pure taste of shortbread without vanilla added, but do what you like. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add our dry ingredients. Now the recipe says to gradually add them. I have to be honest, I just don't do that. So what I do is I'm going to start it off slow, keep it slow, and when it's close to being mixed, I'll give it the blast, like always. Okay, it's close, so I'm going to do one more scrape down just to get all that flour off the sides of the bowl so it gets all incorporated. I'm going to start it slow and then I'm going to do the blast. Okay, and now we're going to add our chocolate chips. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup, and I'm just going to use my 3/4 of a cup measure. It's just easier with chocolate chips. And again, it's an approximate. You do not have to do that. And now we just want to do it until the chocolate chips get all incorporated. That's it. Could that have been any easier? Oh, I think this is why I love this recipe. It's so easy, so quick, and then I get cookies really fast. Okay, so now just grab your cookie sheets and your dough and your cup. And it says to do them about walnut size. I'm never really sure what that means. And it's very soft. It says it makes about 24. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, then what I like to do is I like to roll them very quickly into a little ball. It's gonna make it so there's not shaggy edges, and I think that that's sort of important for this recipe. And it just takes a few seconds. And as you can see, they don't have to be perfect, just so that they're sort of all even. And then we're just gonna take our glass. Now, a trick I found is to wet the glass. So just wet the bottom of your glass, and that will make it not stick. And then when it starts sticking again, you just wet it again. And you just want to push them down a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to put these in our oven. The recipe says to bake them for 15 to 20 minutes. The last time I made it, it took 26 minutes. I guess it depends what size they are, how many you get. So I'll start checking on them probably at 20 minutes. And I'm going to switch them around halfway at 10 minutes. Okay, it's been my 26 minutes and they're done. Now, it's really hard to tell, but you do not want any color really on them. So you just have to touch them, make sure they're not wet. Now, the recipe says to move them to a rack to cool. I'm gonna leave these on for 5 minutes because they're super fragile and I don't want them to fall apart. So I'm gonna put them, the trays on a rack for 5 minutes, and then we will move the cookies to a rack. Okay. I forgot to make a note in my own recipe that it actually takes 10 minutes for these to cool, enough to move them. So I tried them after 5 minutes. They were way too soft. And it's a good thing. Like, the recipe tells you just to move them right away to a rack, but do not always follow it when you know it's not going right. So we're just going to move these over. We're going to cool them and I'll be back for tasting. Okay, our cookies are ready for trying. I can't wait any longer. They have that buttery, shortbread goodness and chocolate chips. Such a pure taste. I just love shortbread. So if you love shortbread and you love chocolate chip cookies, I say give this recipe a try. And until next time, keep cooking.